Have you ever had trouble with things changing around you, no matter how small or how big they are? Or even, have you ever met someone that just seems so averse to change that you can't get them to adapt to anything? So what is that one thing that stops some folks from accepting change? And what's that other thing that the folks who are accepting of change do have that makes them accept it? Well, we'll talk about all those things in 3 minutes here, as this is this week's Motivational Monday Tips. Okay, so we're back, and right about there, I'm going to put a 3-minute clock that's going to start here shortly. I'm going to talk about the things that we asked at the start of the video. How often do you hear someone say, things were so much better back in the day, or even better back in my day? Or maybe even you've heard someone say, things keep changing so fast, I feel like I don't know what's going on anymore. Now, although there is validity in that statement, the constant in why change is so difficult to deal with for so many people is really the fear of the unknown. Now, life, society, even the universe around us moves at a pace that is almost impossible to be in tune with to the second. It constantly feels like we're playing a game of catch up to the things going on around us. And let's face it, that's exhausting, right? So fear is that one thing that stops us from adapting to change when it happens, whether slowly or quickly. Now, we all find comfort in the things that we know. It builds courage and bravery through confidence. Now let's say you play a sport for the first time. What's your first time painting or taking a picture of something, photography, or even more often, first time cooking a meal. We kind of do ourselves this disservice where we always start off by saying the disclaimer, this is my first time doing it, so. Now the reason why we do that is because it can be a little demoralizing to feel a sense of inadequacy when you're trying something for the first time or doing something that you're unfamiliar with. Whether it's creating a self-perception of failure or even feeling like there's an external perception of failure, those things demoralize us and make us not want to have the confidence to do things or try new things. Now, there's a cycle. Now, courage is brought on through confidence. Confidence is brought on through positive experiences and feedbacks of the things that you try. Now, to get that positive feedback or that re-encouragement, you need to have the courage to try something new. So courage, confidence, and positive feedback play a huge role in the cycle of adapting to change. One of my favorite quotes from Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee is one of my mentors in terms of things that I read or know about that really influence the way that I live, is when he talked about what it's like to be water, right? So if you haven't heard that quote, I'll put a link below. You can hear him talk about it on the YouTube video, where he talks about being like water and how water has no form, but it can be any form, right? He talks about adapting to your situations. It's really all about adaptation. So whether it's water flowing through rocks, right, it can mold itself, it can become vapor and go into the air, or it can solidify itself and be as hard as ice. And it's something that we should strive for. And when he mentioned it, he talked about having no form in the martial arts form and learning as many different styles as possible so you can adapt to different situations in a martial arts fight. But in life, it plays the same role as well, right? We don't know what life is going to throw us. We don't know what situations we're going to deal with. So having the courage to be like water and move with the flow of what's happening is one of the key things that I took from that quote. So as we asked at the beginning, what is that one thing that's missing that stops some folks from actually adapting to change? That's courage. So courage is that one thing that's missing, whether it's yourself or someone you know who seems to not adapt well to change. It's the lack of courage to adapt to the situation. And that's one of the reasons why you've probably heard the phrase, the courage to change. Now, not all change is good or even great, but not all change is bad or terrible either. See, that's subject to your perspective on a situation. So it is very subjective whether or not a change is good or bad. Now, although you won't know whether change is good or bad because it's subjective, what you can control is your courage to deal with that change and your management of the fear that comes along with not knowing what that change will do or bring for you. Now, some of the people that we admire the most, right? So your first responders, your members of the military, athletes or celebrities who are scrutinized for every decision that they make. Just like you and I, they cannot control the situations that they are in at any given moment. But what we admire about them the most is their courage to adapt every time something is presented. So what we admire about these folks the most is the courage and bravery they demonstrate to move with the situation as it occurs, whether it's sudden or steady. Another great quote that I've heard about this that was provided to me by my wife one time, I'm gonna put it right here on the screen for you so you can read it, but I'll kind of paraphrase what was said. In essence, one of the biggest reasons why folks are resistant to change is because they focus on what they have to give up and not what they will gain from a change. So whether that is taking a leap of faith and starting a new career, or a new endeavor, a new hobby, meeting someone new, starting a new relationship, moving to another country, another city, all those things, those folks who typically don't make those things happen are fearful of what they have to lose when they make that assessment, rather than what they have to gain. So when you think about change and adapting to change, whether it's in the workplace, in your life, in general, in society, think about the things that you stand to gain first before you make your assessment on what you lose. Now that assessment is essentially called a cost-benefit assessment, right? It's where you're looking at what will be the cost of making a decision versus what will be the benefit of making that same decision. Well, as I mentioned, every change is different and subjective, so you're definitely gonna wanna make sure that you're assessing the benefits and the cost of any decision as you move towards change. So the next time you find yourself or someone around you struggling with adapting to change, let's find that courage to change, or let's help them find that courage to change and figure out different ways to manage that fear that comes along with change. All right, guys, so as you can see right there on the timer, didn't do too good with the 3-minute mark. Didn't even hold it to under 5 minutes, but I had so much to say and I hope it was helpful for you. So, as always, if you like this video, hit the like button below. Feel free to share it with your networks and communities as you see fit, especially if you think somebody will find something useful out of this information. Hit the subscribe button right there. Yep, that's it right there. Hit the subscribe button there if you're a first-time viewer. If you're a returning viewer, as always, we appreciate your support. And don't forget to hit that little bell to be notified whenever new videos come out, such as these and others on the Balancing Act Chronicles. Thanks, guys. Salute.